You're listening to the Integrated Music Teaching Podcast from Top Music. Tune in weekly as we interview music teachers and experts from around the world to explore creative activities and ideas that build learning connections in students. Our integrated music teaching approach will deepen your students' understanding of musical concepts, engage them in critical thinking, improve their reading and performance, foster their curiosity, and prepare them for a lifetime of music making. Hi teachers, and welcome back to the Integrated Music Teaching Podcast. I'm delighted to be spending a little bit more time with you again this week, and I hope you've had a great week of teaching or holidays. I know a lot of you in the Northern Hemisphere are coming up to your holidays, and some of you have even started them already. So I hope all your recitals went really well and that you are enjoying some well-earned downtime. Now, this week, we're continuing our two-part series sharing some narrative stories about two teachers using our Presto framework. Thank you so much to all of those of you who commented on last week's show. I know it was a little bit different, something I've never done before, and I hope you'll enjoy this week equally. If you do have any thoughts to share, then you can find us over on any of our social media channels, or just head to our show notes for today's episode, topmusic.co/episode 336. Would love to hear your thoughts and whether you feel like a newbie Nora or whether you feel more like today's case study on veteran Val. Our weekly freebie for this week is a creation of mine from quite a few years ago, but no less relevant today. And it's my turning off autopilot in Scales freebie download. It's at topmusic.co/scales if you'd like to grab it. And this is a download that will be a handy reference to you if you're finding that your students are getting to a point in their scale playing, maybe they're leading up to an exam and they've kind of learnt everything and they're just chugging along, where students are just putting on autopilot. They're kind of, playing the right hand of a scale while scrolling TikTok in their left hand. They're that engaged. One of the things that you can do to re-engage and turn off that autopilot is to give them some more challenging experiences for their scale playing. And that's what this 2 or 3 page download offers you. And you can just keep this next to your piano if you'd like and refer to it and give your students a new challenge whenever they need it. So it's over at topmusic.co/scales. It's our turning off autopilot download. Hope you'll grab it. Okay, now to the second of our 2 case studies exploring 2 fictional teachers using the Presto framework. Today's story is all about an older teacher, a far more experienced teacher who is called Val. Did you know, asked Val's teenage student, that this piece is older than my mum? Usually a comment like that would have sparked a witty comeback from Val, but today it hit differently. Instead, it was added to an ever-growing list of the ways Val is out of touch with her piano students. Well, I think it's a very hip and cool song, replied Val. Yeah, it's like old school, vintage. I like it, reassured her student. But it's no Britney Spears or Justin Bieber, is it? Worried Val. After her last lesson of the day, Val started tidying up her studio. She picked up her copy of Charlotte's method book and smiled. She remembered learning from this when she was Charlotte's age. Happy memories, even though that time feels like an age ago. The sudden realization hit. It was quite a long time ago. Would Charlotte prefer to learn something more modern, something that wasn't written before her parents were born? Val walked to a local music store to look for inspiration. Before she opened the door, she could hear music, someone having a load of fun singing and playing the piano. She vaguely recognized the pop song, possibly from a TV advert. Must be one of the young shop workers, Val thought. The door opened and revealed the vocalist and pianist, a lady only a couple of years younger than her. Val sauntered over to have a peek at the music, but she couldn't see anything. The musician noticed Val's confused face. You all right? She asked. I was just looking for your music, but you don't have any. I guess you're playing from memory? Oh, I'm playing from this, explained the woman, gesturing to a piece of paper. What on earth? Val was baffled. It's a chord chart. I'm just practicing it for one of my piano students. Oh, this piano teacher is far too old to understand this, sighed Val. Nonsense. The woman patted the piano stool next to her for Val to sit down. The 2 women got talking and Val learned the lady was Bev, a piano teacher on a trip to visit her family. They'd both been teaching piano for roughly the same amount of time. But whereas Val was feeling weary and out of touch, Bev was full of energy and enthusiasm. So, which method book have you found works for everybody? Quizzed Val. Hey, oh, honey, no. Bev exclaimed, "Your students aren't all the same, so don't try to teach them all the same way." "But isn't that how you were taught?" asked Val. "I remember I had the same book as both my sisters." "That's absolutely how I was taught," agreed Bev. "But that doesn't mean it's how I should teach." Val was confused. "But it worked well for you. You're very talented." "It worked well for me back then," Bev said. "Back when kids were happy playing hide and seek outside or showing off their latest marbles. But now kids are playing video games and watching TikTok. It's a completely different time," explained Bev. Val thought, this all made sense. "I see your point. I've noticed kids aren't impressed with the same things nowadays. It's hard to keep them engaged. I've even had several quit because they just want to teach themselves things on YouTube," sighed Val. "I figured I'm just past it. Can't compete with new technologies." "Why should you compete?" asked Bev, her eyes glistening. "Join in, embrace technology, adapt to teaching in modern ways, find ways to engage your students. Learning on YouTube is great, but it's no replacement for an actual teacher. Show them that." Look, I was like you a couple of years ago. I felt I was getting old and boring. At my summer recital, I had 5 kids playing the exact same piece, and all the other songs were pieces that had been played at all my previous recitals. But I was hearing an audience member say, "This concert's fine, but in the same way a house where all the rooms are beige is fine. It does the job, but it's nothing special." I decided I didn't want to be a beige teacher. "Hence the hair." Val gestured to the bright purple streak in Bev's hair. "Exactly. And I can tell you, you have colour in you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be having this conversation." Val nodded. She knew she was colourful. "So, what's your secret, Bev?" "I was hoping you'd ask," Bev beamed, holding out her phone. "The Top Music Presto framework?" Val read out loud. "Let me walk you through it," Bev explained. "Let me walk you through it," Bev exclaimed, excited. Okay, so the Presto framework. Presto is an acronym for all the topics that make up music teaching. So we can pick and choose what we need help with or what we're interested in improving. P stands for pedagogy. Now, I feel you know your stuff, but it's how you teach it that really matters. For example, you have a brand new beginner student. What should you do? "Start them on the first book," answered Val. "That's what I thought you'd say, but you're missing out on the opportunity to make connections with your students. This is the perfect time to encourage them to get creative." "That makes a lot of sense," said Val. So, under pedagogy, you can find all sorts of resources to help you see things from a different perspective. Like I said, you know what to teach, but the key is teaching it in different ways to different students. That sounds useful. What sort of resources? Oh, so many. Just check over on topmusic.co. Blogs, podcasts, videos, ebooks, courses. Val's ears picked up at the mention of courses. Learning new skills is something she's always interested in, but teaching piano is something she thought she already knew. Turns out you never stop learning. Okay, ready for R? That stands for repertoire. "Oh, I have a lot of sheet music and books," reassured Val. "Let me ask you a question," said Bev. "Can you tell me the name of the most up-to-date piece you've taught?" Up-to-date? There's your answer. Kids respond really well to current pieces and songs, especially teenagers. The ones leaving to learn with YouTube, they'll be wanting to learn current songs. "But I don't know what's current. How do I know what students want to learn?" Well, Top Music has you covered there too. They're always sharing the latest songs students want to learn. They even share tips on ways to teach the songs. That sounds so useful. Teaching pop songs is definitely not my forte. I can't remember the last pop song I played. Exactly, and that ties into the next pillar of the Presto framework. E stands for educational journey. And this is a big one. It's about designing a curriculum tailored to each individual student. No more putting everyone on the same method book and doing the exact same thing. I'll be honest, this was a big change for me, Bev said. I had my set pieces that students learned at certain levels at specific times of the year. But just because this worked for me didn't mean it worked for my students. Hi everyone, I wanted to take a moment to let you know about an amazing community of music teachers ready to welcome you over at Top Music Pro. Top Music Pro is the global hub for music teachers looking to connect, learn, grow, and be challenged in both their teaching and studio businesses. Community members save time by accessing hundreds of step-by-step lesson plans, creative teaching frameworks, business guides, online courses, and workshops. We offer training in topics as diverse as music technique, lead sheets, website building, intermediate repertoire, group teaching, and special needs teaching. We also save you money through our extensive discounts, including those with Music Notes, Sheet Music Plus, Music Room, Office Depot, Tonebase, and many more. And if you like sheet music, all our members get a free book of studio licensed, beautifully engraved sheet music each and every month. As a valued podcast listener, you can check out the Top Music Pro community free for 14 days by heading to topmusicpro.com, clicking Join Now on our studio tier, and using the special coupon code IMTPOD23. That's all one word. So that's IMTPOD23. We can't wait to welcome you inside. So what do you do now? Asked Val, her mind full of so many ideas and questions. Everything. I get to know each student and ask what they want to do. Why do they want to learn piano? To be able to sit at the piano and play pieces, surely, said Val. Well, that's just the start. But I have students who want to get good at sight reading so they can accompany singers at school, who want to be able to play by ear so they can listen to a song and figure out how to play without any music. And then there's other ones who want to improvise and compose and express themselves through music. It's more than just teaching students to read the notes on the page so they can perform a piece. It's about providing them with skills to be creative and develop a passion for music in their own way. Wow, that's a lot. But I'm not sure how to do that, said Val. Exactly what I thought. But after spending time digesting lots of Top Music resources and courses, I felt a lot more confident. Top Music has everything to help me with my students. But what if I don't know the answer to something my student asks? Again, that was exactly my worry, Bev replied. But you know what Top Music has taught me? Teachers don't have to know everything. We just have to be open to learning new things. That's what counts. And showing your students you don't know everything makes you seem much more human, and they respect that. That'll take some time to get used to, mused Val. Bev smiled. Okay, so S is for studio setup. But my studio's already set up. Is this an area of the Presto framework I don't need? Questioned Val. Well, yes and no. Do you just teach one-on-one lessons? Most times, but sometimes I'll have siblings together because it saves the parent coming backwards and forwards. Thinking about it, those lessons are actually the most fun for me. Yes, said Bev, do more of those. Group lessons are a great way to engage students, and you'll get more money coming in because you'll have more students. More money definitely sounds good. Now, speaking of money, for a second, do you feel comfortable working on your finances? Val replied, my brother-in-law is a financial advisor, so any questions I just ask him. But it would be good to know how to be more independent with those matters. Top Music can help me with that? Oh, jealous about that connection. I bet that's useful. But yes, Top Music has plenty of ways to help you feel more confident with financial matters. Have I mentioned Top Music Pro yet? No? Well, Top Music Pro has been my savior. How do I explain it? It's a community of teachers all over the world who are ready and willing to answer any questions or provide support. I've met lots of lovely teachers who I chat to all the time. Oh, that sounds lovely. Teaching can feel a bit lonely at times. No one else I know understands what I do. Exactly, said Bev. Top Music Pro is also where you access all those courses I mentioned. I don't even know how many there are, but there are a lot. Everything from business to how to teach chords, you'll find an absolute gold mine that'll give your students and you inspiration for teaching. So no need to bring out the same method books and pieces over and over again. This sounds like exactly what I need, agreed Val. It's exactly what I needed. Where have I got to on the Presto framework? Ah yes, T stands for technique. Not to blow my own trumpet, but technique is something I'm very good at teaching, bragged Val. People are always commenting on how well my students play. Fantastic, but do you ever find there are certain areas that are harder to teach than others? Well, sometimes, Val replied. I'm always baffled when a student doesn't understand something other students find straightforward. Bev replied, it goes back to what we said before, finding different ways to teach different students. So even though you know what to teach when it comes to technique, it's always interesting to learn various ways of teaching it. New analogies and activities you might not have tried before. I'd never thought that before, but I always just used the tried and tested ways and assumed it would make sense to everyone eventually. Now I think about it, that's not a productive way of thinking. I'm actually a bit embarrassed, admitted Val. Don't be, I used to be the same. The important thing is that you're open to change and trying something new, reassured Bev. Okay, on to the last letter now. O is for outreach. Outreach? Asked Val. You know, marketing, advertising your studio and your business to get more students. I do need new students. I normally just rely on word of mouth and wait for students to contact me, informed Val. Well, word of mouth is great, but sometimes you've got to put yourself out there. Show prospective students why they should have lessons with you rather than any other teacher or YouTube. Do you have a website? Okay, so exciting. You've got to let me help you set up your online presence. Well, I definitely need help. I have no clue. Bev's phone beeped and she glanced at the screen. Oh, is that the time? She jumped up. I'm going to have to leave you. Sorry, my daughter's expecting me back at hers. Thank you so much for everything, Bev. It's been very eye-opening and thought-provoking. This is just the start, Val. It's time to put these new ideas into practice, and I look forward to seeing how it all works out for you, said Bev, pulling on her coat. What's the best way to reach you? I'd love to stay in contact, asked Val. The best way? Inside the Top Music Pro community, Bev winked. Sounds perfect. I'll get onto that as soon as I get home, promised Val. Well, I hope you enjoyed meeting veteran Val and Bev. And thanks so much to Georgina Wilson on our team for writing these 2 scripts over the last 2 weeks. We really appreciate it, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Please let us know what you think, and if you have any questions on any of our social channels or over at topmusic.co/episode 336. And if you'd like to find out more about the Presto framework, if you haven't checked out our blog about it, you can head over to topmusic.co/presto for all the details of how this can also help you. Well, that's the end of the show for this week. I'm Tim Topham, and you've been listening to the Integrated Music Teaching Podcast. I can't wait to catch you again this time next week. Bye-bye. How do you keep up to date with all the latest trends and research into music education? How do you connect with other teachers around the world and make sure your teaching stays fresh and relevant for students of all ages and stages both now and into the future? I created our Top Music Pro membership to be the one-stop shop for music teaching resources, training, support and community, and I'd love for you to come and join us inside. With over 40 comprehensive training courses, hundreds of teaching demonstrations and lesson plans, free monthly sheet music, discounts and all the business and pedagogy support you could ever need, Top Music Pro is the community you've been looking for. If you're ready to level up your learning from the podcast and join thousands of other teachers in our global network, head over to topmusicpro.com today. If you enjoy this show and want to hear more of our work, be sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening today. For links and resources mentioned in this episode, visit us at topmusic.co/podcast or check out the show notes. I'm Tim Topham, and this is the Integrated Music Teaching Podcast, a production of Top Music. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy your week ahead, and I'll catch you next time.